Welcome to the Five Petal Podcast. I'm your host, Bridget Burcano, a mystic home, hearth, and parenting coach, here to help you come home to yourself through the 5 petals of the well woman's rose. Through interviews and reflections, we explore what it means to care for your whole self, spiritually, mentally, emotionally, physically, and relationally, so you can live with more clarity, self-trust, and rooted connection. Let's dive in. Hi. So I felt inspired to talk about manifestation today because as a spiritual worker, I feel like it's just everywhere. And somebody, as somebody who is really actively wrestling with my life, of course, manifestation is going to come up because it's such a hot topic. When I started studying healing and energy work and kind of psychic shamanic practices, it was out of fun and interest. But what really got me seriously putting in my time was this concept that I heard about called manifestation. And before I heard about manifestation, I'd always struggled with the notion that life was happening to me and that I was just kind of ducking and diving and navigating whatever came my way. And I felt sort of dragged around by life without much agency, and I didn't see my power to attract relationships and potential opportunities. I thought I just kind of got lucky when things went well. And I thought that difficult people and situations were more of a sure thing. But when I began working reception at a healing practice years ago, it was called Ambrosia Healing Arts, I told the owner that I wanted to get into manifestation. I said, I want to manifest my dreams. I was just bubbly and excited about it. And my dreams were really big. I mean, at that time, I was broke. I was on food stamps. I was a new mom, and I had just moved far away from my industry and from my life and my friends. I mean, not that far away. It felt really far away from me. It was like maybe an hour drive in normal traffic, but it was a long ways. It was paradigm shifting. So I had to completely recreate myself with like no money and no time or energy to network, and this new responsibility of being a mother, which I completely underestimated. Oh my God, I had no idea. Like, what was I thinking? That's okay. That's how I do a lot of stuff. It's innocent motivation, human design. I just kind of jump in like, sure, this sounds nice. And then I'm like, wow, this is a really big experience. I guess that's just how I roll. It's okay. No regrets. So when I shared that with her, my boss, who became a great teacher of mine, and she'll definitely be on this podcast at some point, she said something like, the law of attraction and vision board stuff is fun to think about, but it's fantasy. And if there's a lot of shit in there, she's very direct, Virgo. She's like, if there's a lot of shit in there, that's what you're going to attract back to you. And by shit, she means, of course, like the energy blocks and, unresolved emotions and trauma and limiting beliefs and all that stuff. So I was taken aback, personally insulted, because I wanted her to be like, oh yeah, here's this magic pill, here's this magic spell, like just say this and it'll work out for you. You'll be rich and blissed out like all these people that you're watching sell programs. And they're saying it's all in your mind. And it kind of is all in your mind if you consider your mind to be like the entire integration of every dimensional part of you. But it's really more in the emotional and energy body. So that's when my focus shifted to depth work. I needed to open my mysterious, esoteric closet. I needed to meet my skeletons. I needed to enter the cave, face my fears. And here I am. I am so much happier. I'm more mature. I am more grounded. My kids are doing good. We're doing good. And honestly, I'm living a life now that I was jealous of when I started this depth work. But I'm realizing that it really is true what the manifestation gurus say, that you need to live as if you already have it. Have you ever heard that? Where you're saying your supportive mantras, and it can feel delusional when you start. I still kind of like, am I just being delusional? But it's crazy how it works, living as though you have the thing that you want and putting out that energy. But when you're making that shift into that zone, which is, that's the thing. It's like I can access that so much more easily now that I've made peace with a lot of my traumas and blockages and difficulties like that. And I'm much more self-knowing and grounded, and I have the skills for relationships and to build a better life anyways. So now that I have that, it is much easier for me to shift into the game face and emanate what I want my life to be. And now, like I said, I'm living a life that I was jealous of when I started this work. I'm a homeschooling mama with land and a garden and friends and happiness, and I still want to make love to my husband. And it's pretty good. If I saw me back then, I would have said, I want to be her. So here we are. This is great. But I was hearing one of my mentors talk about this, and she's incredibly successful in business. And she was highlighting some examples of how this worked for her. I got to thinking, and I remember a way that this really did work for me, like in the beginning, like before I had actually started to study any of this stuff, and really before I had started to do my depth work. It was just right at the beginning. I was 25 and I was living it up in Seattle. I had a jazz performance degree and an audio engineering degree under my belt. And I was fluttering around like a butterfly between clubs and venues and studios. And I was running sound, I was singing jingles, and I was playing in bands and dating around and getting in for free everywhere, drinking for free, staying at the club after hours because I knew people, and life was a party. But deep in my heart, I knew that what I really wanted was a close, intimate connection with a man who I could build a life with. So I was looking around at all these guys that I was dating, and I wrote in my notes, taking auditions. And I was getting really hung up on them because my body was like ready to make a baby. And my soul was ready to have a partner. I was yearning for that. And then these guys who I was obsessed with, I'd feel so let down because like they weren't looking for that. I was just inserting them into a projection, and they knew they weren't at that stage in their life. And besides just the dating part, my freelance career was just all over the place. I was throwing a bunch of like spaghetti at the wall and seeing what stuck. So my relationship energy, my emotional energy, my creative energy, my working energy, it was very scattered and stressful, and I knew I needed to make a change and get focused. So That summer, when I was 25, I moved into a really cute little house with my friend Michelle. And I worked as little as possible because I wanted to just get by and chill and find myself a little bit. And I had a steady gig running sound at the Jewel Box Theater. And I would get out of there around midnight or 1 a.m. And I was like soaked in sweat because it was a cement block with no ventilation or no air conditioning. And I affectionately called it the Swamp Box Theater. It's actually still around. I just looked it up because I was curious, but they're still going. It's a institution in Belltown. It was actually a speakeasy in the 20s, so that's pretty cool. But anyways, I was like drenched in sweat, and I'd drive to Madison Beach and I'd strip off my clothes and jump in the water and swim around and gaze at the stars and the middle of the night. And I just felt so wild and free, and that that badass little girl magic of like, I do what I want and I'm a magical fairy. It just came back into my being. And eventually, after a few weeks of that, I decided, you know what? I'm not going to date anybody. I'm not going to waste my time or my energy on anybody until it's clear that they want to put in the kind of energy that I am ready to put into a partnership. And I'm thinking about it now and what a gift that was to myself. Like, what a relief it was to myself that I didn't have to chase anymore, that I was just settled and I felt totally enough in myself that I wasn't really worried about it. I wasn't trying to meet a deadline or stick somebody in the spot, like deeply, truly. And so a few days later, guess what? A band I was in at the time called Pergato, we rolled up to a farm party in Stanwood where they had to sell me on it. I was like, what the hell is this? She's like, it's a pig roast and they have a lot of music and it sounds fun. Like, we'll drive you there. Just come. And it was like way up in a little town that I'd never heard of, never been to. And so I'm like, all right, cool. And so we pull up and this man walks up to the car. He gets my attention right away. And he stands there smiling while I open the door. And he's asking, hello, I'm Joe. Can I help you carry something? I was like, yeah, you sure can. And that day, I mean, he got my attention. And that's an excellent way to meet a lady, is to offer to help with something. Just, an idea. And then he went about his business. I went about my business. I was still just feeling good in myself, focused on having fun that day. My bandmate and I danced around. We're acting goofy. I wasn't trying to show off for anybody. I was just focused on having a good time. Met a lot of really nice people. And then that guy who came and helped me carry my amp backstage, eventually he gets up there and everybody rushes in, and apparently he put on the whole event. And his band was like the headliner. He like put on a party for himself. I love this. It was called the Frothingham Roast. It's a pig roast, and his last name is Frothingham. Now mine is too. Spoiler. And I just remember thinking, like, when I saw him just so big and tall with his guitar and addressing his friends and his family, it was lots of different ages. I just thought, wow, this guy looks like a king. Oh, I made sure he knew where I worked. That was what I did. I came to, say, oh, great show. I got to run to work. I'm running sound tonight. And he goes, oh, where at? Oh, the Rendezvous. That's our little um, inside joke because the Jewel Box Theater is in the Rendezvous. So, yeah, still a little flirt, even though I was like not gonna date anybody. But yeah, we just kind of got to know each other and started dating. And he actually, like, on our first date, he asked if I wanted kids. And he was like, I mean, not like, I'm not asking you to have my children, but I'm just curious, is that something that you want? Which, like, I found refreshing. And it turned out he, he was a musician who learned a trade and was actually working as an electrician to support himself and have a lifestyle, that was a little less scatterbrained than mine. So it was like, okay, wow, this guy is really great. And then we were inseparable and we talk, and here we are, 2 kids later, in love, and he has been putting in as much energy as me into our relationship. He's held me through so many paradigm shifts, becoming a mother. I mean, we've had our difficulties as well. I've held him through a lot of growing up too. But that was just really amazing. I just wanted to share that story, that it really works. Like, acting as if you already have it. Like, my soul, I was so certain that I'm not going to settle for anything less than this vision I have. And I felt really okay with it. If it takes years, that's fine. Like, I'm just over less. I'm over less. So that's why I called this podcast Self-Love is the Key Ingredient to Manifestation. And for a lot of us, it's unfortunately a journey to learn how to love ourselves. And that's why I'm here offering my services as a coach, so women can come home to themselves and really just love on themselves in the areas of their body, their environment, their thoughts, their spirit, their emotions, all that good stuff. And it will reflect in your world when you really learn to befriend yourself. So I hope you enjoyed my story, and you'll meet Joe too someday. He's very charming, very handsome. And that's a wrap. Thanks for listening. If this spoke to you, give it a like, subscribe, and share it with a friend. To discover which of the 5 petals is asking for your care right now, take the free 5 petals assessment at bridgetbricano.com/self-assessment. In closing, I'll leave you with a favorite phrase I learned in Circle. What's mine is mine, what's yours is yours, and what's ours is ours. Until next time, be well.